Hello, Bradley. All right.
Hi, Renan.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 117 of Semantic Mastery Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 1st of February, and we got almost the whole crew here. Chris is out in the Alps, I believe, doing fun things.
Alps.
Yes, doing fancy things. So, no, I think he's out snowboarding. He's taking some well-deserved time off, but we're holding down the fort. So let's go around and say hi to everybody. So we'll start. Marco, how's it going?
What's up, man?
How's what's the weather report?
Warm and sunny. Warm and sunny until May. Sorry for you guys wearing all those sweaters and hats and all that stuff, but it is how it is. You got to pay the price for the life you live. You know, we deal with volcanoes, a few earthquakes, but on the upside, it's always warm and sunny.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hernan, how's it going?
Hey, everyone. Hey, it's really, really good to be here. I'm super excited. Still getting used to this platform, but I think it's growing up on me. So it's
cool.
Looking good.
All right. Bradley, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm happy to be here.
Good deal. All right. Well, we're going to get into it pretty real quick. I wanted to say couple updates. I wanted to let everybody know that Video Powerhouse is expanding. I know we've mentioned it a couple times. We are going to have a launch later in the month. We've been keeping kind of quiet about it, but it's been growing and it is freaking awesome. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'll drop the link if you're interested in checking it out. There's going to be some cool stuff going on with that. We got many, I'm just going to say many more sites at this point, and there's a lot of cool features coming to it. So if you're interested, by all means, please check it out. And while I'm doing that, I think Marco, have you been doing something, or what's going on?
I've been jumping around the web, looking at stuff, trying to see how much trouble I'm trying to break the web, guys. I'm having fun. I'm trying to break literally, and so I don't know if any other word, but what's coming is I don't know. It's like taking a howitzer to a fist fight. Yeah, you might be a good fighter, but if you got that that big barrel facing you, it's not going to do you much good, right? No matter how good a fighter you are.
Yeah, don't bring a knife to the howitzer fight.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
You were calling it originally the Make Google Puke Project.
Yeah.
MGP.
It's gone beyond that.
That's great.
I'm trying to make the web puke, man.
Awesome.
Well, give it hell, Marco.
Yeah.
I'll give it the old, yeah, it goes, man. We're in the lab. We're having
some more information for people as stuff keeps going on. This is we're gonna have some interesting stuff happening. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. You guys got anything else, or should we dive into it?
Let's get into it. We got questions already.
All right, let's go.
All right, I'm going to grab the screen, and whenever I do this, my audio drops. So hang tight for a second, guys. If somebody can confirm that you're seeing my screen now.
Correct. Yes, we are seeing just the browser.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. All right. Let me open it up a little bit. All right, so let's get into it. It looks like I read Paul's comment here a minute ago. I guess Paul had a question attached to his wonderful comment about Megarray last week that I missed. Apparently, I read the comment, but I apparently missed the question, so I'll get to that in a second. Brian's up first. He says, it seems that ahrefs, Moz, etc. all have different ranking number. Which do you feel is the most accurate ranking site? As far as, you mean like what? Like, Brian, I'm assuming that you mean like the metrics that they give you as far as, for Moz, it would be, or excuse me, Moz. For Majestic, it would be trust flow and citation flow. Is that what you mean? Ahrefs and Moz have, what are the ones that, it's been so long since I've used either Ahrefs or Moz, but they have, is it trust factor or no, rank? What are the metrics for that, Hernan, that they assign to it? Not domain authority. I'm not talking about domain authority and page authority, but they're like trust ratings.
Yeah, like they have the Moz rank.
Yeah.
Moz rank. Okay, that's one.
Yeah, the most rank, and then they have a new kind of a spam metric or something like that I've noticed, and I came across it, and it's still highly I would say inaccurate, because I've gone through it and I throw completely spam domains, and they came back lower than real money sites, that they have like a lower threshold of spam signals, if you would. So they have these spam metrics, whatever, and then they have the most rank, which is another metric as well.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as those, most of the time, Brian, and we've been talking about this for months, if not more than that, that those metrics really, I don't pay attention to those metrics anymore, and I haven't for quite some time, because they're all proprietary. And like Hernan just said, they're wildly inaccurate, in my opinion. I've seen sites with terrible ratings rank really, really well, and then I've seen sites with great ratings rank very poorly. So I just don't trust those metrics anymore. I mean, they're an indication. Like trust flow, for example, and topical trust flow, it's something that we used for quite some time. And prior to using that, we were using Moz's domain authority and page authority for quite some time as a way to identify or measure the strength of domains or links, for that matter, or pages instead of just domains. But a lot of that stuff is not nearly as effective as it used to be, because Google caught on to all of our manipulations that we would do with those, right? I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about us, like SEOs in general. People would manipulate those numbers in such a way. Like I remember we used to do, I'm sure you guys have heard domain authority stacking, and that's something that, we did that as well. We would manipulate domain authority and page authority, doing all kinds of evil stuff. And that worked quite some time, about a year and a half. That worked really, really well. And then it started to stop working, like it started to decline. And then we switched over to trust flow. And then we were manipulating trust flow metrics, and that would work really, really well. And then that started to decline. And then we started focusing more on topical trust flow, which is a measure of relevancy, topical relevancy. And that seemed to work better than any of the other ones. And we still focus on topical relevancy, but we don't use the Majestic metric as a measure of topical relevancy so much anymore. On a large, broad scale, yes. Like if I'm going to be analyzing a list of domains for purchase, then I'll look at topical trust flow as kind of just an idea of what the inbound links are for a particular domain. But then I'll still go in and analyze it individually, each domain individually, and look at the inbound link profile, look at the content, what the content of the site was, all that kind of stuff. And so now I focus more on topical relevancy than I do on any one metric. And that's what we teach at Semantic Mastery, and we have been for many, many months now, is to not focus on so much on domain metrics or any of those proprietary metrics, and focus more on relevancy. And that can be done just with a quick review of the sites that you're trying to get links from, if that makes sense, or domains that you're going to purchase. It's just a matter of looking at them and seeing what was the content about. Does this relate to something that I can use, or how can I make it relate in some way that would be beneficial and pass relevancy, if that makes sense. So as far as, the only backlink analysis tool that I use, and it's the only one I've been using for probably about 2 years now, is Majestic. I stopped using all the others. I know Ahrefs is good, but I just specifically stuck with Majestic when we stopped using domain authority and page authority metrics, and we started focusing more on trust flow and topical trust flow. And I've just stuck with that one ever since. And now that I don't really use any of those metrics in my analysis anymore, it doesn't really matter. I just keep the subscription to Majestic so that when I do have to do a analysis, I have at least one tool available. If that makes sense. You guys want to add to that?
Yeah, just something.
Go ahead, Marco. Go ahead.
This was in a blog post that I did in December of 2015, right? The distance graph. Mm-hmm. It was the death of the PBN, and what you needed to do in order for your PBN not to die, which is to find something with high trust, high authority, but not what Majestic and what do you call it, Moz tell you, but real authority, real trust. and relevant to whatever it is that you're doing. If it's not relevant, then it's practically become useless.
Yeah.
Unless, and we've mentioned this before tons of times, it has that those metrics that are out of this world, right? 60 to 80 domain authority and trust flow. When you're in that area, I mean, if you can get something like that, you have the holy grail of links. Otherwise, you just look for something that maybe has lower metrics, but is relevant to whatever it is that you're doing. And you make sure that it's linked to something that's relevant and that's considered either a seed site or a seed set. I mean, we did a whole webinar on seed sites and seed sets and iframes and everything that you could do to game the system, but I guess nobody was paying attention. Unless you're an RYS Academy and making tons of money.
Yep.
Right. You know, what I wanted to say real quick to add what you guys were saying is that I've been talking to Roman I think it was last week or the week before, that they were having great results. We're finding these kind of domains when they switch the focus from metrics into backlinks, you know, and history. So they were finding maybe the metrics weren't that high, but the backlinks were like pure gold, you know, backlinks from Wikipedia, backlinks from CNN, backlinks from those kind of things. And even if you're using something like blue chip backlinks or whatever, since we have our own, or we have it, or we're developing our own done for you PBN and done for you, you know, scrapes if you want, on SERP space. I think that when we switch something super simple like the approach to scrape from quality of backlinks and quality of history and quality of domains, it goes way further, and the competition is lower because, again, everyone else is looking metrics, you know, and metrics are something. What we need to understand is that metrics are third-party tools.
That's right.
You know, so that's what something that I want to say. That the guys were finding like really good domains just by switching the approach to this. Yep,
and like you just mentioned, that they're third party or proprietary metrics, guys. So it's their best guess as to what Google is looking for, you know. And so, I mean, granted, they're educated guesses. I get that, but it's still proprietary. They don't work for Google, right? They don't have direct access to Google's metrics. So it's what they determine, they think, and from vast amounts of data, you know, I get that, but again, it's still proprietary. So we stopped focusing on that. And like Hernan mentioned, even like for the domains that we've been purchasing for our own stuff, as well as for scraping domains to be sold in SERP space and that kind of stuff, you know, we switched the focus over to looking at the inbound links, guys. And it's not, you know, here's the thing. Even like if you're using blue chip backlinks or whatever, a domain scraper, and you're scraping your own domains, typically everyone looks for the metrics, right? They're looking for trust flow numbers that within a certain threshold or above a certain threshold, and that kind of thing. And that's great. I get that. But you can find domains that have zero trust flow that have, you know, maybe 5 or 6 inbound links, right? But they're 5 or 6 inbound links from really relevant sources. And that's more valuable to me, even though the metric isn't there. The metric doesn't say that it's a very powerful domain to purchase, because it has inbound links that are relative to what I'm going to be linking to from that domain. Then obviously that's a good link for me, or a good domain to purchase to use to build a link to whatever site that I want, if that makes sense, because it's got the relevant inbound links. And that to me is more important now than any metric. Okay. Good question though, Brian. Next is Paul. And this is the one I mentioned earlier. He says, last week, Bradley read my comment, but didn't answer my question. Sorry, Paul. I must've missed the question part of it. My question last week was, are you, Bradley, going to do any training on how to use Megarray? No, I'm not. And the only reason why I'm saying no, Paul, is because there's training in Megarray. And as far as how to use the tool, as for strategy and stuff, it's no different than strategy I would use for any other tool, like, you know, mass video tool. And we've done various trainings over the years based on that, you know. So Megarray is just a tool that can perform a particular function, several functions, but there are other tools out there that will do that as well. And we've covered that a lot in various trainings. So I don't plan on doing any specific training on Megarray, no. But you know, basically, guys, it's the same thing. You can use it to poke, to find, to test keywords. You can also add your own, you know, you can add themed networks, which is what I recommend that you do, so that you can mass publish videos to multiple networks. And, you know, you can use it for building backlinks. And Paul, I know, Paul, you said you're already having really good results with not only ranking videos, but also ranking money sites with using the tool Megarray. And so it sounds like you already know what you're doing anyway. Okay. Edward's up. He's got multiple questions here, so let's run through them. Hi, Bradley. How can I copy content off of YouTube Creative Commons? Well, okay. I don't know what the terms of, you know, what the actual like proper terms of use are for that. I can tell you, obviously, if you use Firefox, you can download pretty much any video ever on the web. If you use Firefox, all you got to do is install a Firefox extension. There's many of them that will do that, where you can just download a video. So you could do it that way. I don't know that that's, again, you know, that's proper use of Creative Commons. It's probably not, but you know, that's certainly one way you can do it. The other thing you do is use the YouTube editor. Go to youtube.com/editor. Okay, let's just show this real quick. You guys are seeing my screen, correct? Just make sure.
Yep, we are.
Yep.
So go to youtube.com/editor. And then from here, if you click on the CC for Creative Commons, you can search Creative Commons videos. And then if you find one, like let's just say Man on a Rowboat is something that I wanted, which I don't know why I would, but let's just say that I did. Then you just drag it down and drop it into the editor. And then you can do that with multiple Creative Commons. You can splice videos together. You can mix and match. You can cut them. You can edit them. You can use the YouTube editor to do this. Okay, so for example, if I pause this and I zoom in a little bit, you can see it zooms the timeline out. And then I can cut if I want. I can cut pieces out. I can trim the front, trim the end. I can add audio. By clicking on audio, you can change tracks and use Creative Commons tracks or royalty-free tracks, which is, it's interesting because even some of the tracks in here, sometimes though, you'll use them and they'll be fine. And then later on, at some point down the road, you'll end up getting a copyright claim or one of those yellow warning signs or whatever that will add put an ad over top of your video and that kind of stuff. It's interesting. That happens from time to time. But you can add text. You can do all kinds of stuff with the YouTube editor. And that, I know that's legal as far as YouTube's concerned. It's not against the terms of service to use Creative Commons in the YouTube editor. It may be against terms of service to download and use in your own editing software and then re-upload. But again, you know, it's up to you as to how much risk you're willing to take. Okay. But yeah, using Creative Commons in YouTube editor is a quick and easy way to slap some videos together. Do you have any contract templates that I can use for new clients? No, because I don't work on contracts. I never have. I don't want to say I never have. I have worked. Excuse me.
Can you hang on a second? If he's meaning get the content, the closed caption content on his own videos, then he could just go to subtitles, right? CC, I mean, on his own video.
Well, I read CC as Creative Commons. Is he talking about closed captions? I don't know. There's. I mean, go ahead and finish answering, Marco, because that might have been what he was asking about.
Yeah, all you have to do is in Creator Studio, info and settings, and then go to the subtitles and closed caption, and then what YouTube will do is it'll automatically give you the subtitles.
Okay. Yeah,
the closed caption, it'll do it for you.
That's true. If you go to Video Manager, let's just pick one real quick. I'll show him where to do that too. I was reading CC as Creative Commons. Maybe he was talking about closed captions though. Subtitles and CC, guys. You see this? Click on that. Select video language. In this case, it's going to be English. I'm going to say default for new uploads and click set language. And then where do you download them again?
Click on that. Click on that green.
There you go.
And then you have right there actions that you can download it.
It's still loading. Hold on. Okay.
But if you click on actions, you'll get a drop-down menu.
Okay, so there you go. Now you can download as either one of these files here or any one of these 3 file extensions. You guys see that? So if you were talking about closed captions, which again, I must have misinterpreted or I may have misinterpreted the question, then yeah, do what Marco just said. Just go to a video. Has to be your own video, I think. I don't think you can download closed captions from somebody else's video, can you?
Yeah, you could always upload and keep it unpublished and do it all, and it's not really ethical. I mean, I'm not recommending that you do it. I'm saying in a hypothetical world, this is what you could do.
Very good.
Hint, hint.
Right. Wink, wink. All right. Do you have any contract templates that I can use for new clients? No. I've worked on contracts a few times with some really large clients because that's what they wanted. But for the most part, I don't work with contracts, and I never preferred to do it. I always would pitch my services to prospects and say, look, I'm not going to lock you into contract. If you're happy with the services that I'm providing, you should be happy to continue paying me. If you're not happy with the services provided, then you should be able to suspend services and we can part as friends or not as friends, whichever you prefer. And that's how I've worked since the beginning of my career. And that's how I prefer to do it. I don't like to work on contracts. The only time I've ever worked on contract is when the client required it. And it was typically if it was a larger a larger type of a larger company, a larger business that I was doing services for that would cost, $1,500, $2,000 plus per month, if that makes sense. But a lot of the smaller clients that I work for or do work for, are typically $1,500 or less per month. And so for that, I just do a month to month. Okay. If a client has no clue how or where his Gmail account used for GMB, how can I get to be a manager? Well, I know in Google My Business, there is a way to request access. I don't have it off the top of my head. I usually have to dig around in Google My Business in order to find that. But essentially what you can do is you can go to a listing and then try. I'd have to do some digging to figure it out. I'm not going to do it on this live webinar, but you have to play around inside of Google My Business, and there should be an option at some point where it says it'll give you the option to request transfer of ownership for the site. And so the only thing that you can do, for the listing, the only thing you can do then is send that request and hope that somebody replies. I can tell you right now, I've had that happen probably about, 8 or 10 times over the course of my career where I've taken on a new client and somebody had set up the GMB locations page for them and they don't know who did it. So nobody had access. And I have tried on all 8 to 10 occasions to request transfer of ownership through that method that I just described. And I've been unsuccessful on 100% of the attempts. I've never had it transferred. Nobody's even ever replied to me. So usually what happens is I will end up going in and contacting, or I used to do it through Google Map Maker. And I haven't done it for quite some time. But if I could not get access to the Google My Business page, I would close it, basically say that listing had been closed and then wait until it had been approved and then go back in and start a new one altogether. Okay. And that can create a hell of a mess too. I've had that happen. I've had it happen where I've closed a listing or reported the listings closed and then gone in once it had been taken out of Maps. It never gets really taken out of Maps. It just gets kind of like archived really. And so when you go to create a new listing with the same information, it can end up causing some crazy like ghosting troubles. In other words, sometimes the old closed listing will pop up and it can be quite a nightmare. I've dealt with that too, but that's sometimes the only way that I've been able to get access to it. So unfortunately, I can't give you any other advice on that. It's just really shitty that if somebody else can create an account and then not give anybody the details and then you're stuck. Like, what do you do? Or what does the business owner do? You guys have any suggestions for that?
No, I think I tried. Yeah, I tried it like once or twice as well, Bradley, and I didn't have any results as well. So,
yep.
Same here. I mean, I don't know what to advise because it's impossible to get an answer, and if you can't get an answer, how can you move on?
Other than just close the damn listing and start a new one. But again, that can create some new problems on its own. Like I've got a limo service client that we've, when I first took over their SEO, it was 5 years ago now. It was right after I opened my agency actually in 2012. So it's been 5 years and I've been doing work for them ever since. And we had that issue. We had to close a listing because they had moved, but the Google would not honor the move, like the updated request for the new address and new phone number, or it was an address, not the phone number. Google would not honor it. They wouldn't update it. And so I mean, we dealt with months. I dealt with that, and I wasn't able to get it fixed. So finally I just closed the damn listing, and I waited about 2 months for it to stop appearing altogether in the maps results. And then I went in and set up a new one. But, 6 or 8 months later, all of a sudden the new one stopped appearing in the maps and the old one started appearing again. And then we ended up going through like 4 months of troubleshooting with Google engineers. No kidding. It's just because Google's slow. They're like the federal government. They're just a huge, big bureaucracy, right? So they don't move very, very fast. But it took them like 4 months to finally get that corrected. They admitted it was their fault and their engineers were working on it, but it took like 4 months. And so for 4 months, that client was furious, right? He was furious. And I don't blame him, but it wasn't, it certainly wasn't my fault. It was Google's fault. But Google doesn't move very fast for us little guys, okay? So unfortunately, I can't give you any more help with that. Edward next says, I've been giving new clients a trial period on my ability to rank. After 6 months, I give them an option to stop the year contract. I don't know how to track my success for them and prove they need me. What do you do? Well, I would never, first of all, I'd never agree to something like that. And second of all, since I don't work on contracts, it's not an issue for me. If after 6 months a client isn't happy with me, then usually we won't make it 6 months anyways. If they're not happy with me, they're going to be unhappy with me prior to that 6 months, and they're going to say, we don't need you anymore. And that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does.
Right.
Go ahead.
That's I was about to ask, Edward, are you working 6 months for free?
If so, that's crazy.
Or you're just like, because I don't understand like your ability to rank, because you could be better off like building your own assets if you're not going to be charging anything for 6 months, I just like, I feel like you could be working on your own assets and nobody can fire you from that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So unless you building your own asset or you're getting some sort of, partnership in the company, that could be fine. 6 months you invest in the company, but you're investing in the company, not in the term of money, but you're investing in your work. So I hope you're not doing that. If that's the case, then I would advise that you start thinking on, building your own assets, either A or B. You can say, okay, I can work 6 months for free, but you need to give me a partnership. That would be that. I think that would be a better approach in my opinion. So,
yeah.
As far as tracking success, what you take to clients, you go into Google Analytics, you go into Google Search Console, you go and make sure you have an 800 number that that you have it ringing to the client's number so that you can track the calls. You get copied on any emails that the client gets. All of that information put together gives you have a lot of evidence on what your success is. Don't focus on rankings. If you're ranking focused, you're lost. You should be focused on success.
Traffic.
This is what I've done. Correct. This is what I've done. These are the visitors that you're getting. These are the people that are filling out your contact form and calling you. I don't know how else you can try. I mean, there's just no other way unless you're there to close the deal, which you don't want to do that for your clients. I mean, they have to do something, right? Yep. But as far as tracking, that's what I would do. They would have to go through my number where I can see the amount of calls going through, and I would get copies of the contact form, how many times it's filled out, or maybe even the whatever you're using for email marketing. You can build the list there, and that's how you track your success, and that's what you present to the client.
There you go. Okay, the last part of the question, I'm kind of doing this while Marco and Hernan were answering. Somebody said, I guess he was asking about creating an RSS feed from any web page. You can see, I had these bookmarked, but typically what I would do in your situation, and I don't know if these will work for you, Edward. I'm going to post them up here anyways. And let's see, these are RSS feed generators. I don't know if any of these will work for you. I haven't played with these in quite some time. However, typically when I'm looking for something like this, guys, the only reason why I have these is because I always bookmark stuff that may be useful to me at some point in the future. But all I do is go to Google and search, create RSS feed from web page, and just start clicking on links and seeing which one will end up working for you, Edward. I just shared 3 that hopefully will work, but I don't know if any one of those will work. And honestly, if none of those work, all I would do to answer your question is go to Google and find it for you. So just go play around, guys. When in doubt, use Google. It's funny how we as SEOs oftentimes forget that sometimes the easiest way to find an answer is to Google it. Like, if anybody's ever seen the Let Me Google That For You website, that's freaking funny. Just so you, what is it? Let's see, lmgooglethatforyou.com. I think that's it. Yeah.
I have it on speed dial.
I love this. I love this because it's like, okay, create RSS feed.
Nice. Can you let someone ask.com that for you? I'm going to start using that.
Create RSS feed from web page is what I would do. And then you say, get link. And now watch. If I take this link and I shared this at the top of the event page, this is what it would look like. Go to Google. I'm not doing this. This is doing it. Create RSS feed from web page. Google search. That's it. Was that so hard? So anyways, that's just being a jerk about it. But I like to do that occasionally when I've got somebody that asks me a silly question that could very easily be answered by Googling it. Because it's like, how long did it take you to type the question out and then wait for me to reply when you could answer it yourself? And I'm not picking on you, Edward. I'm just making a joke. Okay. Next, Virginia Surgeons is Toby. I know that because I remember now. If you have a 3-tier IFTTT ring, how do you set it up to blast Web 2 and other nefarious things to the correct rings? Well, I don't ever use 3 tiers, Toby, just because it's too much work to set up and too much maintenance. In case anything breaks down, there's a lot of, it's a logical chain, right? So it's an if this, then that. And then it's a linear progress. And so if at any point one of those links in that chain breaks down, then everything downstream is going to be offline. It's not going to help you at all. And so because of that, I never do 3-tier rings. But if you're going to use 3-tier rings, that's fine. It's no different than using 2-tier rings in that you just take all of your profile URLs from each ring or each network, IFTTT network, and just blast the shit out of them with links, preferably with contextual links to the IFTTT networks. Even at tier 3, I don't recommend like just pure spam at the network properties. I would still try to keep the first tier links clean, somewhat clean, make them contextual type links. And then you could throw kitchen sink spam behind that. However, I can tell, I don't know if I should say this, but Marco's, we're not revealing anything. Marco's in the lab right now testing a bunch of shit. And he just told us today that he's noticing Google's seeing even out to tier 4 now on backlinks. Is that correct, Marco?
Yeah, we've noticed that they're going out quite a bit, but it might have to do with the iframe. Okay. It might have to do that they're reaching out because it's being seen as a link, but all the others aren't. If that the initial link in what we call the slipstream is being revealed, but not the in-betweens. The in-betweens are iframes. That's interesting. That iframe stack it's really interesting. But I also think, and again, this is from all the testing that we're doing and that we've done before. iframe stack. I think the iframe stacks protect the destination anyway in the slipstream. So even if you stack the iframes one after the other, and you hit it with a link, which we're using high trust and authority, not in the way the Majestic and Martha, fuck them all, in the way that we're using it. We're teaching you what's right, guys. We're teaching you what works. We're going to show you what works come August. But that's what's happening inside that stream, and the iframe actually protects the destination, and it kind of cleans whatever is going into it. So we're laundering
link juice
again.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if I gave away too much.
Laundering links. So again, Toby, just, I'm assuming you've got I don't know whether you've got your own link building tools or if you're just going to hire that out. One thing that you could do is you could hire a link building package from SerpSpace, order a link building package from SerpSpace, and then just kind of analyze it once you get it delivered. And if you've got your own tools, then you could always mimic that. But that's what I would recommend is, kind of look at your reports that you get after a link building package from SerpSpace and kind of mimic that. I am not the spam expert because I hired somebody many years ago to run all the spam tools for me. I know Hernan's a spam expert, and well, he's a spam tool expert, although I don't think you use it near as much as you used to now, Hernan, do you?
Well, yeah, that would be a correct statement. I do mingle with spammers, and I do have my own, my server. But at some point I needed to. I would say I was running several dedicated servers at one point, but as usual, you need to keep doing what the company needs you to do. So at some point it was that, and then we decided to bring up our resident spammers. So basically now we're just strategizing with Marco and Dedia, our guy that's running all the GSA while I'm running PPC. But yeah, I definitely love that. And, I'm into projects that require some spam at some point. So yeah, definitely.
Yep. Okay, Tom's up. Tom says, absolutely love Hump Day Hangouts and haven't missed an episode since I started watching. That deserves a +1. For some reason, probably overthinking, I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around a concept. I'm starting a 2-author blog, both pen names, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to structure IFTTT networks. I'm familiar with creating persona networks as separate identities from the brand, but I'm not sure how to integrate persona into the brand. Since I already have 2 Google accounts set up for the pen names, the persona accounts are already started. So my thinking is to use one account to create a branded network in the corresponding persona network, and then use the other Google account to set up the second persona network. This would essentially result in a tier 1 branded network and two tier 1 persona accounts. Yeah, you can do that. So listen, here's the thing. If you have, and that's fine, guys. In fact, we talked about this. It might have been a mastermind or something last week, or one of the other webinars we did last week, but somebody was talking very similarly about having multiple authors. And, you can create an author feed from WordPress. Out of WordPress, guys, you can pretty much get an RSS feed for everything. Categories, pages, authors. You can even probably get an RSS feed from individual posts, I'm sure, and tags even. I'm not sure about tags, but I know that you can get RSS feeds from categories and authors, for instance. So what I would say is, for a setup like what you're describing here, Tom, that's not a bad idea. I always talk about only use one tier 1 network for a money site, but that's under most conditions, which are going to be where somebody has a money site that they're constantly publishing content to from basically one author. And I'm using air quotes now, right? From whoever that author may be, the company themselves or individual authors on the blog, whatever. However, in your situation, it does make sense to have a branded network for the blog, right? And then to have 2 persona-based networks that are the authors, and then feed the persona-based networks with the RSS feed, the author feeds, if that makes sense. So the branded network will get all posts from the money site, no matter who writes them, no matter who posts or publishes them, whether it's the company itself or individual authors, so to speak. But the branded network would get all posts. But then the IFTTT network for Persona 1 and Persona 2 would be updated or fed content from the respective author feeds, if that makes sense. And that's what I would do, because then essentially you are using multiple tier 1 rings at that point, but they're segmented and categorized or compartmentalized in such a way that is not spammy, in my opinion. Okay. Now, I haven't tested that myself. However, I can't see that being a problem. And I'd like to hear you guys' opinion on that as well. But I think that would work very, very well, is to have the individual persona or author rings being fed with their feeds, their author feeds only. What do you think? That was a cue for somebody. Yeah, crickets. I heard crickets. Okay, I guess nobody has any. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? I don't know if this is live or not. And can you guys hear me?
Now we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was talking to the mic. I was just muted to say, "Hey, Bradley, I agree with you." That's fun.
Okay. All that build up just for that. All right.
Yeah. Right. We need to have the MP3 queued up for cricket sounds, like chirping crickets.
Right. That could be funny.
All right. So let's see. Let me just finish reading this. Also, there'll be 2. Is there any issue with having 2 YouTube channels syndicate the same content? I wouldn't do that. Well, you can do that with the same content across 2 channels, but I don't like to do that, guys, unless I'm using them for spam purposes only. Like, if you've got a money channel that you're going to be using that's associated with this whole setup here that we're talking about, then I don't recommend taking the same content from one channel and republishing it on other channels as well. I don't like to do anything like that to my money sites, guys, or money channels for that matter. If it's a spam thing that you're doing, specifically for spamming, then absolutely you can do that. And I'm not saying you can't do it with a money channel and then republish the same content to another channel. I just don't recommend it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay. Would it be better to keep one persona as a separate identity from the brand, i.e. not linked to the money site? No, again, I think, honestly, I haven't tested this, Tom. I can't give you 100% definitive answers, but I can tell you that it makes sense to have those individual author rings and have all of them linked back to the same source, because it's all from the same, like they're authors for that blog. So it's natural looking. It's logical. Guys, just think about it. Think about what looks natural and what do like some big sites do, for example. And big sites that have lots of authors. Well, the authors have their own feeds, and they probably syndicate their own content to their own social media networks, right? So that's all you're doing.
Yep.
All right, Kevin's up. Hey, guys, hope everyone has been doing well. I have a question about posts per day and indexing. I'm thinking of doing 40 posts per day, wow, through plugins, but I would like to know if 40 per day is too much for IFTTT to pass juice, since Google doesn't index Web 2s very fast. Kevin, I wouldn't do 40 posts per day to any Web 2 networks, honestly. Anytime I've gotten aggressive with posting, especially with an automated posting app like IFTTT, they count many of the accounts get terminated. I would not recommend doing 40 posts per day. You can test it, but honestly, it's very likely that many of your Web 2s will get terminated. So I don't recommend that. Does Google crawl index the archive posts on Tumblr bloggers, etc.? Yes. Yeah, you mean like the paginated posts? Yes, Google will crawl and sometimes index those. And well, unless now I'm not sure about Tumblr. Tumblr might have some no index parameters for the paginated pages. So essentially, guys, an archive page is nothing other than an index page, right? What I mean by that is it's like a blog category page or a tag page or something like that. It's the paginated. So older posts, those. Now, like, for example, in WordPress, if you're using Yoast for WordPress SEO or any one of the SEO plugins, in the options, you can always say no index paginated pages or archive pages. You can select that option. But if you leave that option unselected, in other words, if you allow them to be indexed, then you'll notice if you do a site colon operator on your sites that paginated pages or archived pages will index. Okay. So unless Tumblr has a no index parameter in the header for archive pages, I'm assuming that they do index. Okay. Let's see. Also using the advanced RSS directory submission training in IFTTT, would the directories be able to handle my 40? Yes, the directories can handle 40 posts per day. Any RSS aggregators and directories can handle as much as you throw at it. It's the Web 2s that won't. Okay. Will Google be able to crawl and index all my posts that are on the directories? Again, Google won't index posts from directories, Gavin. Google can crawl links that are posted on directories, but they're not, and they may index the directory pages. Typically they don't, but they will crawl the links. So just remember, your post that you really only care about being indexed from your money site and then some of your Web 2s, and even then they don't have to be indexed for them to still be. All right. Lastly, if 40 per day is too much, what would be a maximum you suggest per day to pass juice and get indexed regularly? Again, the whole indexing issue, I wouldn't worry about that, Kevin. Honestly, don't stop worrying about getting your Web 2 post indexed. Don't worry about that. Okay? As long as your money site post is indexed, that's all you should really worry about. Use the IFTTT networks to syndicate. Google will see the links. They may not submit them in an index, or they might put them in the supplemental index, but it doesn't matter because they still count those links. And Hernan has done testing in the past with no index PBNs that have still passed juice.
Yep. Yeah, I was just about to say that, Bradley. I think there's a big, of course you want, like, the ideal scenario is, I would say, a powerful, relevant link that's indexed on Google. That would be the ideal backlink, right? Because you can get traffic and you can get relevancy, you can get link juice, you can get traffic, etc. So, but the point is that sometimes we mess with, or we mistakenly say that a non-indexed website or a non-indexed backlink will not carry this link juice. It will not carry the same amount of link juice as an index website, but it will carry link juice. You know, yeah. I've made tests. Of course, the best PBNs are the PBNs that got good backlinks, as we have been talking a little bit earlier today. And, you know, but no index PBNs will be sub-ideal, but they can move the needle nonetheless. So, you know, I see a lot of people here and on Facebook groups and some Skype chats, etc., saying that IFTTT Web2s, you know, they take forever to index. And that's fine. I mean, as long as you're getting traffic, you're getting traction, you're getting more exposure, I wouldn't be, you know, so worried about getting those Web2 indexed. Because again, you know, if you're tweeting them, Marco goes in depth on how to force feed Google, index, etc., on our YS Academy. But the point is that the whole idea of IFTTT is to automate things, you know, to make things easier, to have, like, I would say 50% or 60 or 70% of your link use, your link building tasks taken away from you, you know, automated. So if we start overthinking and if we start, like, we are defeating the purpose of IFTTT SEO Academy. So, and then 40 posts, I wouldn't be worried about indexing so much, but I would be worried about the lifespan of the accounts, you know? So
I would add just one final thing to this. We've ranked stuff that isn't indexed, that, you know, it gets indexed, then it drops off the index. So both. We've ranked it before it's been indexed, and then we've ranked it after it's been indexed and dropped out of the index. So we've done both. So just because it's not indexed doesn't mean that Google doesn't know it's there. It doesn't mean that Google isn't paying attention to it. Yeah, there's a lot of people will tell you anything. People will tell you anything to get you to spend your money. We test. We go every day in the lab. We're in there. We're testing everything. We're throwing everything we can at it just to see what happens, just to mess around and see what happens. That's what we do. It's our job so that we can come back and tell you, hey, guys, this is what's working. And we can tell you it's working because we did it. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, why even be here? So please just pay attention to what it is that we're telling you, to what we're saying, because we actually test this shit over and over and over again to make sure that what we deliver to you is information that actually works.
All right, I'm going to try to run through a few more before I get yelled at by Adam. Since I don't have a masterclass or another webinar today after this, I'm going to run till 5:55 or 4:55, excuse me. So here comes the middle finger. All right, last part of this, Kevin says, well, excuse me, he asked about 40 per day. If that's too much, how many? I typically wouldn't. I usually don't go any more than about 10 or 12 posts per day, but I don't start off with those either. I will ramp that up slowly. So I might do, like, 2 posts per day to start with, and then over the course of about a month, slowly increase it up to, 6, 8, 10 posts per day. But again, I do that as a slow progression so that you can allow your network sites and everything to basically age a bit, or season, as I like to call it, like to season them a bit before increasing it to that rate. So if you do it slowly over time, it's going to look more natural than setting up a new network and then just blasting it with 10 or 12 posts a day. That'll almost surely get your accounts terminated. So again, start off with 1 or 2 posts per day and then ramp it up slowly up until about 10 or 12 posts a day. If you want to be more aggressive, feel free to do so, but just be aware that you may lose your accounts. Next, one more question. Rank Feedr to drip ping your money site feed every single day, or is it risky to ping a feed once a day like that? No, it's not risky to ping a feed at all. The pinging will not risk anything. The worst thing that can happen by excessive pinging is the ping service will blacklist your IP. That's it. Literally that's it. You can't over ping anything, guys. The pinging services will just start ignoring you, essentially, or ignoring a particular link request for pinging. That's it. Okay, you can't over ping something. Okay, but there's really no need to continually ping stuff either. If you've got it set up to auto ping once a day, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay. Kay says, what's a good frequency to publish on YouTube to syndicate on IFTTT network? Very similar to the question that Kevin had about how many is too many. Usually remember, guys, publishing videos to YouTube is the same thing, right, as publishing blog posts, because you're essentially going to syndicate to a network. So it's not necessarily the YouTube itself that you need to worry about being terminated, although that can be a problem too. But it's the Web 2 properties you syndicate to that often causes the problem. So like when I do a lot of spam testing with YouTube, I try to, like, for example, Hangout Millionaire or Video Marketing Blitz or Megarray or any one of the tools that I've used to massive spam YouTube. Usually I try to stay at no more than 5 videos per day per channel. I've gotten away with as many as 15 videos per day per channel, but that can be a bit excessive, and it can, you know, basically raise a red flag. So I typically don't like to do more than 5 posts per day to any one YouTube channel, which in turn would post 5 times to the network in a day. Okay. So again, in order to try to save your network or to keep your network from being terminated, or sites within your network from being terminated, is start slowly and ramp it up. So if you want to do 5 or 10 posts per day, it's okay, but I wouldn't come right out of the chute or right out of the gate doing that, because it's very likely you'll get terminated. All right. Greg, when is the next IFTTT webinar? Probably not. It's not going to be next week, but it'll probably be the following week, Greg, which will be, what date would that be? The 15th? Yeah, February 15th. It's likely going to be February 15th. It will be notified in the IFTTT Facebook group when it's scheduled. Okay. Let's see. Next, we're almost done, guys. Just a minute. Thanks, Wayne. Yeah, you can. And sorry, Edward, I see that you were talking about closed captions now. Well, now you've learned how to also do Creative Commons. Greg says, to clarify a question on Rank Feedr, if we want one page on our site to be correlated a certain authority site, can we create multiple RSS feeds that all have our one page, but importantly, each feed has a different page from the one authority site as a static page? The main question is if we can keep associating with the same authority site, associating it with that same authority site over multiple feeds. Not 100% sure on the question, Greg, but you know, creating RSS feeds and using the sticky post or sticky item feature in Rank Feedr should not cause any problems, because they're not direct links, guys. It's co-citation. As far as I know, there is no spamming penalty for creating feeds and associating content from one particular site or even one particular post across multiple feeds. I don't see that as ever being a problem. I can't imagine it ever becoming a problem either, because what would stop other people from adding your content feeds into their own feeds that they create, like in FeedBurner or something like that? If that could be a spam problem, then couldn't we negative SEO people just by creating feeds, right? So that's why I'm saying it shouldn't be an issue, Greg. All right. Edward, by the way, just so you know, Hernan, he wasn't he wasn't doing it for free. It looks like he was charging $700 and going to $1,100.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I can breathe.
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah, much better.
Edward says, should I start off with just one tier 1 that I buy from you for clients? I go to SerpSpace. Yeah, go to SerpSpace. Check it out. I mean, any tier 1 networks, guys, we build links to all tier 1 networks. That's just the way it is, because it makes them so much more powerful. So like once the network's been built and once we've primed the network with a few posts, then it gets sent over to our link building manager, and he just builds the same exact package that you can purchase from SerpSpace. Okay. So I recommend every network that you do it yourself. If you've got your own tools, that's fine. Or you can buy them from us, which makes it hands-free and it's simple to do and it's effective. Blake says, could you please restate the iframe approach again? Well, we're out of time. We don't have time. And Blake, that's we can't reveal much of that because that is specific to RYS Academy, which is a closely guarded membership. But you're more than welcome to join there, and then you can get all the information you want. It'll be like drinking from a fire hose. Okay, well, we are just about, have I heard of Pindrill? No, I'm not sure what Pindrill is. It's probably a Pinterest software, I'm assuming. But I don't do anything with Pinterest. So
that's Paul confirming that something that's not indexed will rank.
Yep. Woo! We're not indexed, but they're ranking. Yep. All right, guys. Well, like I said, as far as this one thing, I just want to comment on this very quickly about charging $700 and going to $1,100, because the one part of that question that we didn't get to finish answering, as he says, is there some way to track progress so that when that 6-month period comes up and he wants to, elevate the price to that higher amount? Well, I wouldn't work on agreements like that. If I was going to work on an agreement, Edward, where I wanted to give them a trial period as opposed to just a flat out fee, then I would charge them for lead gen. Like in other words, I would charge the client for generating leads. Now, I don't know if it's a type of business. I'm assuming that the business needs leads. I don't know of any business that doesn't. But what I would do is charge on a trial basis. I would say, okay, look, let me generate some leads for your business, and you can just purchase on a pay-per-lead basis. And then if you're happy with the service, we can either continue it that way, or we can go to a monthly service fee instead. And that's the way I would do it, because that, again, like you said, when the 6-month time comes up. Now, if you're using good reporting software, or if you've got where you're monitoring, maybe inbound links that have been built, content, ranking position, traffic, make sure you have analytics installed so that you can show traffic, that kind of stuff. Then you could actually show them hard data and say, this is what I've been able to do in 6 months. These should be able to show progression throughout the time that you were working on it, provided you're tracking all that stuff, which you should be if you're providing client services. But one of the beautiful things about lead gen, guys, is you don't need to provide tracking services. You don't need to show anybody any data, period, other than producing phone calls. You have to show the number of calls and the number of web form submissions. That's it. You don't have to show them ranking. You don't have to show them reports of anything other than number of phone calls generated and number of web forms submitted. So in my opinion, a lead gen model is a much, much better model, because then you're not answering to anybody. All you're doing is producing leads. So anyways, that's it. We're out of time, guys. Appreciate everybody being here.
One sec, real quick. Ken had a question. Is local included in RYS Academy?
Yes.
Awesome. Boom.
Is there any other questions?
No, sorry. That was it. I really wanted to answer that one.
Okay, cool. Yes.
I mean,
RYS is really good for, well, it's good for everything, but it's in locals included in there as well. So
there's a full case study on local done by I mean, step by step, over the shoulder. So yes.
Yep. Okay, guys. Well, thanks everybody for being here. There is no additional webinars this week that I know of. Is there, guys? I don't think there is.
I think this is it for this week.
Okay, cool. Well, then we'll see everybody next week. Thanks.
Awesome.
See y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.